Hi, everyone. My name is Max Sheffield. I am the founder and CEO of Max Wild Stories. So I do fractional content management and brand storytelling for service providers, for creators, and for experts so that they can create marketing that makes people feel seen, not sold to. And this is the free training on developing your customer journey map for simple marketing and sales. So, what all of that means and why it's important, a customer journey is just understanding that we need to tailor our marketing to each stage of where people are at mentally, emotionally. They're not instantly going to be ready to make a purchase. Some people are. Some people, they'll hear you on a podcast and want to book a sales call immediately, but that is not the majority of how people make purchase decisions, especially larger purchase decisions like us service providers or us one-on-one, um, like coaches, consultants, what have you. The customer journey kind of helps give customers that preview, that window into what it would be like to work together. And it makes it easy for them to be able to visualize what types of results that they can get while working with you on like a lower, like smaller scale. The way I like to think about shifting into sales from your free content into your paid offers is really about earning the right to ask. So, the reason why we don't like spammers, we don't like people who are being overly salesy in our DMs, it's not that sales is what is the problem. It's that they haven't taken the time to find out literally anything about us. They don't actually know what we need. They don't know if what they're trying to sell us is something that's actually going to get the results we're looking for. They just kind of pitch us based on some assumptions that are usually not true. Or if they are, it's like, yeah, but you didn't like find out more about my specific situation. And what makes it gross is that like lack of specificity in it, but also that rush to the sell. Like I get people in my LinkedIn connections, like they haven't even connected with me yet and they're already pitching me. It's like, come on, at least have a conversation with me first. And it kind of just goes along with you. In certain cases, you can jump right to a sale, right? Like with a gallon of milk. Are you brand loyal to 1 gallon of milk potentially? Or is there like a default one that you normally buy because you are brand loyal to a point, but like if it's not there, you're not going to not buy the milk. You're just going to quickly choose based on factors like price, like quality, like anything else, and then just quickly choose another gallon of milk. Right? That's the selling process there. It's not very, it's very straight to the point. But if you were to go buy a computer or a car, that whole process is different, right? People do research, people ask their friends and family, people get input, they'll look at videos on YouTube, all these different aspects because they're doing research because this is a much bigger ask. This is a much bigger commitment. If I didn't like that brand of milk, okay, next week I don't buy that one again. With a car, with a computer, with a service provider, there feels like more at stake for us. And that's why we do need to go through that process and that journey, which is why it's important for us to have like a vehicle for those sales, like a way that we can go from our free content to asking for the sale without it feeling gross. Again, while learning more about the people we're working with and tailoring it to them at different stages, and giving them, a way to shift into that sales process. One question I get a lot from people, so I want to address it off the bat, is the difference between a marketing funnel and a customer journey. And I think a lot of people are going to have different opinions and ways to think about it. And no one is inherently better or right than anyone else. But I think the customer journey is more in the mind, in what's happening internally with our people and understanding what's going on internally with our people. It's what's going to help us create the marketing funnel, which is like the actual externalization of that, of here's what people are thinking when they're first realizing they have a problem. What's the content maybe I can put out at that stage, at the awareness level? What's people going on when they're weighing options and they're trying to make a decision? Like what content can hit the people at that level. And there's different marketing assets for each of those. And some things are ongoing, right? Like at the nurture level, which we'll talk about in the next slide, you know, that's some ongoing marketing like your blogs or podcasts. But I like to think of things in a psychological way of like what is happening, like what beliefs do they have in the beginning versus maybe hopefully towards when they're ready to work with us. You know, what are behaviors are they, you know, trying to impact, and like what relationships is going on. And you can map that out from like, this is content from the people at the beginning. Here's content that's more towards the middle. And here's content where people are really, again, maybe that more sales directed content once they are far enough along in the process and now they're ready to make that. So this is based quite a lot on my business mentor, Rachel Cook. I am going to go ahead and just fully, you know, especially the awareness, engage, nurture. That part is all her and her client growth engine. But it helps to reconceptualize marketing, because when we think of marketing, we think of it's all one level, but it's not. As we looked at, the marketing that's going to be up here is going to be different marketing that's down here. It's going to be either in different format, maybe it's more deeper, maybe it's longer in length, you know, maybe it's in a different channel, like email marketing, as we'll talk about later, versus maybe something like a something that's on your website or on social media. And awareness is just getting eyes on your business, on your you know, on your website, or maybe through podcast or media or PR, whatever that looks like. Your, you know, collaborations with other creators. It's people who did not know about you before, and you're getting out in front of them. Most people do not focus a lot on this, and this can be an issue because you have to have people entering into that funnel. People have to enter in here. So if you're only focusing in the middle, then you're just talking to the same people over and over again. And that's what's going to cause you issues with having a consistent pipeline of potential clients. We're going to cover quite a lot of the engage piece, because that's giving people an entry point into learning more about you. This is like the initial deep dive content that helps people develop that. They get momentum towards that desired result for themselves. So we're going to go a little bit more into the engage. We'll talk about the other pieces as well, but there's just, I have a whole curriculum about mapping your customer journey inside Story Alchemy Strategy Lab, which is my marketing education and feedback community. So I can't go overly much into every piece, but I really want to hit engage, because this is the long-term assets that are going to you can continue to build upon, continue to refine. They'll build your audience. It takes the pressure off when you go looking for awareness building opportunities, and it helps you plan out your nurture content, because you can theme it around your offers and theme it around your engage strategy, your lead magnet, your training, your quiz, whatever that looks like for you. And the reason why this is so crucial is we need to give people, especially if we're like a higher ticket service provider, we need to give them a low risk call to action that we can use. Something where, yeah, you know, they know they're going to get email newsletters from you. Like we're at the point where it's not like a surprise that like I get an email, or I give you contact information for me, and I get a resource, a template, a swipe file, whatever that lead magnet is. So it's like we've kind of set up that expectation now with folks. You know, it. So we just talked about different kinds of lead magnets and for trainings, and there's two ways to go about it. And I know that one conversation that's been had over and over again is I get worried about giving too much away because I do have a course. What if I'm just teaching straight from most of these slides are came straight from Story Alchemy Strategy Lab with just some minor edits. I feel like when you're asking if you're giving away part of your paid content for free, you're asking the wrong questions, because everybody has a lead magnet. the online space, it's so saturated that just a little checklist or just a little tiny piece off of your stuff is really, it's not hitting the same. It doesn't need to be this long, drawn out lead magnet, but it does have to have some sort of value for people. It has to solve one specific problem for them or get them a smaller result that leads naturally to the bigger transformation that your service or your program provides. Think through what your paid offers already are. If you have a signature program, if you have a high ticket one-on-one program, start here and think, okay, what's the natural bridge between like getting people into action, giving them momentum, giving them a smaller result, and that makes that course or that service feel like just a natural next step for people to be able to go further. So like now that you've done this, the next step would be this. Like, what is that bridge? I know that a lot of people feel like they have to go much more complex with lead magnets now because again, the earlier ones maybe aren't getting the same results and they're going like they need to make a calculator, a scorecard, a spreadsheet, even coding. Some people have made software tools, like Birth Tools has built a lot of their stuff around. And I know that choosing the right lead magnet is going to be intimidating. But these people have probably, especially if you're doing the awareness building piece, they've already heard about you. Maybe they've had the chance to listen to you talk at length in a podcast interview, or they saw you speak, or whatever that looks like. They have some level of awareness. So, look at the people who are already coming to you somewhat warm and focus on them first. And that will be easier to, instead of trying to apply to everybody. I find that the people who are doing the very complex lead magnets, they are optimizing for making that lead magnet more attractive to like cold traffic. Cold traffic means they've never heard of you. They just Googled blah, 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 brand voice template, and then your thing comes up. And while that's great, that's for people at a further stage of their business. You do not have to make your lead magnet more attractive to those cold traffic until later. Like that is a longer term strategy that you can go back to. So just focus on that warm traffic, the people that know about you already or have heard you in some capacity, and focus on that first. So the result is one thing, right? Like getting that people that smaller result. But the other half of that is it's infusing what's uniquely you, like your unique style, your unique framework, your approach. Do you have a process that you have developed yourself, like a proprietary framework? At the end of the day, all of what we're working on is having a specific goal in mind, which is to give people, again, that understanding of what it would be like to work. Because that's other businesses have, like software companies, they have free trials. You go to an ice cream store, they let you try all the flavors. So for us, as a service provider, we really need to show people, our expertise and, and you need to pass the vibe check, so to speak. I'm not great at slang, so, just bear with me on that. But there's people out there who are doing things that I like, are giving results that I want, but I don't necessarily mesh very well with. There are quite a few podcasts that are all about like being a parent and being a mom and being an entrepreneur. And I'm like, okay, a lot of these topics are relevant to me, but it was how they were like very feminizing and like mama did, like sweetie. And I'm just like, as a non-binary person, I don't resonate with that kind of language. And it just felt flat out dysphoric. And not to say that there aren't other people who respond and enjoy that. I don't judge them or hold anything towards them, but that just didn't, the delivery of the content was just not resonating. So even if the topic was relevant, I'm just not going to receive that. And if you're worried about turning people off, wouldn't you rather know now, in the earlier stages, before you get on calls with somebody, before they fill out inquiry forms, before, you spend a lot of time on that, or even if they become clients, because then they can ask for a refund, a chargeback, from their bank, and then you're really out of money because they just didn't resonate with you. When your longer form content, which can be engage or your nurture content, when it's working and it's attracting the right people, it's also filtering out the wrong ones. Filtering out the wrong people is just as important. It's called lead qualification in the marketing world. You're qualifying the leads. So when you do get into a point where, you are maybe jumping on a call with them or sending them an application or whatever that is, they have an expectation already of what it's like to work with you know. And it could be about values. It could be about messaging. Like I said, that messaging didn't resonate with me, but they just might not be ready yet. They may not be at the right stage for a particular offer. Maybe what you're offering is people who only have teams and they're solopreneur for now. Maybe they need something more at the beginning of their journey. Or maybe they're further enough along that they don't need it done with you. They need something done for you because they're ready to outsource it completely. And that's fine. Again, that's making sure you're directing people towards the right offer. Maybe you have an offer for solopreneurs as well, and it's self-study, and they can do that until they're ready for your more like higher ticket or done with you work. So okay, let's say we have the free training, we have the lead magnet that we want, we've worked on it. How are we going to promote? Because the customer journey, while it's very important to marketing and to sales, it isn't enough alone to make the sales for you. So I always try to tie, going back to a little bit to that topic, is like, how did that paid offer translate from the paid? When I'm promoting something outwardly, I'm promoting the training, I'm promoting the lead magnet, and then maybe on the back end, on the internal side, maybe via my communities or maybe via email, is when I'm doing the heavy lifting with the promotions, because these are people who have already engaged with me or have attended workshops with me or something to that effect. If you're we talked about earning the right to ask before, social media and nurture content is the same way. Some content can stand alone. Some content's meant to be more promotional. So just kind of look through, like, hit that, and that percentage will look different for different folks. But for service providers, I've noticed 20-30% tends to work really well because you're still giving people some time to look at the educational stuff or the more storytelling stuff versus just the stuff that's like, hey, here, I have a free training about that. Or your educational content can be educational stuff that came from that free training or stuff that's related to the free training to get people in the mood or they're like at the stage or they're ready to engage further with that. We talked about earlier in that stage with the awareness side of things. Look at the free training, look at your lead magnet, and start brainstorming. What are good topics that you could maybe pitch to speak about on summits or podcasts, or doing guest articles, anything of those awareness building type of steps that you could take. This is especially true if the lead magnet or the free training or whatever you have, that engage piece. Is there a media or timely angle that you could leverage that can maybe bring that news media would be looking to cover in a different way? Like, is it related to AI, or is it, related to, again, to a topic we're already talking about in the news? Start to think through ways that you can promote it from that side of things. And then when people, we'll talk on the next slide about selling via our email sequences. But for people who maybe go through the sequence and they're not ready to buy yet, what long form content can be like a good follow-up to that? Or it can be like, okay, we're talking about customer journey for the engaged piece. What if I did the next like blog series or video series I do on YouTube or whatever is all about the awareness stage and building awareness? Like, how can I, make things fit together in a way it's like, oh, I'm learning quite a bit, or I'm getting motivation and momentum in building out my customer journey. Now I want to work with Max further for to get feedback on my marketing, or get my funnel copywriting already written for me, or whatever that is. So another option, we saw conversion event on that slide with the arrows. This is another way, is If you've already created this free training or lead magnet, what are conversion events like challenges, like webinars, sprints, boot camps, summits, whatever those look like for you, where you kick off like a launch period? How can you take something you've already created and take that information a step further, give people access to you, add maybe more implementation aspects to it or exercises, and like expand on it even further for that conversion event? Because then at that point, you gave them a much deeper understanding of the topic, of what it's like to work with you. Because again, they're getting access to you through like a challenge or through a webinar, whatever that is. And you're setting that expectations. Most of us know if we're doing a challenge, if we're going to a webinar, there's going to be an ask at the end. That's you give enough in the beginning. That first 80% of the stuff is just so good because again, it's from your paid stuff, or at least for me, I try to make it as much about what I've already developed for people or for done with clients. And then at the last 20%, when you're ready to ask for that sale, you're like, wow, I got so much from this completely for free. I can't imagine what's possible for me if I were to work with them one-on-one or join their community or their course or what have you. So last slide, last part of it, because we did talk about the marketing piece. Now we're going to shift into that sales piece again, talking through the conversion event. But email marketing is, everyone's talking about it for good reason. Let me just say that. It is literally the marketing channel with the highest ROI. And data has showed, and I checked this today, that for every dollar that you spend in email marketing, you get on average $42 back. Like that's insane. Like no other social media does not have that. No other channels have that. And part of that reason is emails are not subject to algorithms, not like a social media post, not like blogs on Google or YouTube or what have you. It goes out to every person who is opted in. It lands in their inbox no matter what, which again is good for us, unlike social media where we don't really know who is looking at our stuff and who isn't. And it's not everybody for sure. But assuming that they're able to see it in the inbox, sometimes it gets lumped into promotions, which is its own topic that I could talk about. But assuming it's in their inbox, you need an enticing subject line that sparks curiosity, and it also sets up expectations for what's coming, that you're going to ask them something, or whatever story you're going to tell them in that. I think that people don't love a bait and switch. So if it's something that's going to be a purely promotional email, like this is an example of a purely promotional sequence, I would kind of put that up front so people understand, like maybe within the preview text in the first couple of lines, hey, I'm going to talk to you about XYZ, just so people, you're respecting their time. But I feel like there's nurture emails and there's promotional emails, but a nurture email sequence, like for a training or for a lead magnet, it can kind of be a mix. You can go and start heavy in the nurture in the first half, while also starting to promote in the second half. We talked about this in the beginning of the training. Some people are ready to make a decision right away. So we want to give them that option. We want to show them, like, here are the next steps to work with me if you're ready. To me, it's like a softer ask. This right here, nothing wrong with it, but this is a hard ask. This is like a launch email sequence, like after a conversion event, for example. But in like with a free training or lead magnet, you want to still earn that right to ask. If I hand you something and then the first email is, this is all the ways to work with me, that's overwhelming. And again, that still doesn't feel super great, at least for me and for my clients. In that welcome or nurture email sequence, you still want to give to them. You still want to be helpful before you can really expect them to like have that connection with you, to build that trust. So for a nurture email sequence, I needed to do 3 things. It doesn't have to be, it can be maybe 2 emails per, it can be like the number of emails can change, but I needed to give greater context on applying the training or the lead magnet to their life, to their health, to their business, to their relationships, meaning giving. We need to give to them and make them feel like they're able to take this and apply it to their life and bring it forward and implement it. Because people who are implementing are more likely to want like that feedback, that accountability, that service provider. They're action takers. We want action takers to be engaged with us, right? Because those are the people who are not just downloading a lead magnet, letting it sit on their Google Drive all year. Who's done that? We've all done that. It's because we weren't in the stage to take real true action on that thing yet. But when people, this kind of helps them get into that process. The other thing I need in a nurture email sequence to do is explain what the deeper problem is at work and why they may not be getting the full transformation, the full results that they're looking for. Often people in the awareness stage, they're looking for the band-aid for their problem. But we as the experts know, as the service providers, we know that the band-aid isn't going to do it. That's not really going to solve anything. It's going to help the pain maybe in the near term, but what they really need to do is address the root cause. So we're going to try to get them to kind of understand their problem a little bit better. This can be done with like storytelling. This can be done, in a bunch of different type of ways. And then finally, now we're going to lead into that more promotional part of the email sequence where we're going to give them enough information to make a purchase decision for themselves, or if they want to do a purchase at all, right? Because they might not be ready yet. This is just really helping explain maybe your offer, maybe you're illustrating the why or the story of why the offer exists in the first place, or why you do the work that you do, what makes you unique, be examples of who this offer is best for, and then what's possible for them if they do take action. So again, it's giving them that understanding. And then I also, especially if it's a welcome email sequence and they're going to stay on, I want them to stay on my email sequence. I also set up expectations for like, hey, here's how often I do email newsletters. Here's what I talk about in those email newsletters. So even for the people who don't decide to purchase, which like I said, not everybody will. In fact, most maybe won't. You're at least going to set up those expectations for what they can expect afterwards. So that's kind of like the bonus part of it, the extra part. So hopefully that kind of helps you understand. I'm sure with the Notion or the Google Doc template, whatever I decide to use, will help make it a little more visual, because I think that will definitely help not just bring everything down, but just see what marketing assets you need to create, see how it all fits together. Again, seeing how the free content can translate to getting those consistent clients and getting more just leads and inquiries, period. So if you enjoyed this training, please let me know. You'll be getting a nurture sequence. So you will, I want to take you behind the scenes. You're going to see exactly what I do and how I do that. And feel free to use that as an inspiration for yourself as well. I'm going to. Thanks, everybody.